Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Each week, we are serving up motivation and inspiration to help you get weeknight dinner on the table, letting you recapture a little calm in the crazy. And now, your host, speaker, author, and married mother of four, Mariefiebach.
Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 99. I'm your host, Mariefiebach, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Today, we're going to talk about how to do a deep dive grocery shopping trip, why you want to do that, and some of the mechanics of being really successful at this deep dive grocery shopping trip. But before I dig into that, I want to say a big thank you to those of you who have taken the time to write a review in Apple Podcasts. It really does mean the world to me. I read every one of them, and it helps spread the word about Feed Your Family Tonight. Next week is our 100th episode, and I'm trying to get 20 new reviews, and I'm a little shy of that goal. Can you help me meet that goal by just pausing for a moment right now, going into your podcast app, at clicking on the show, and then scrolling down, you'll see a place to click stars and click all 5 stars, and then write just a sentence or two of a review. It really does help others find this podcast. And while you're there, make sure you click subscribe. If you're not subscribed and you're not listening every week, then you're missing out on all sorts of fun Feed Your Family Tonight tips and tricks to help you in your home. So that's enough housekeeping. Today, we're going to talk about doing a big, deep dive grocery trip. I first heard about this concept from Lisa Woodruff of Organized 365. And she talked about doing it in December so that you don't have to buy basics like toothpaste and paper towels and toilet paper in the busy month of December. But I have found that if I do a deep dive shopping trip several times a year, it gives me so much brain space, and it really helps me get in and out of the grocery store faster. And it also helps me with meal planning because I've already done a lot of the major purchasing, and I can focus my meals around the items that I already have in my pantry. And that helps me stay focused with my meal plans. So I'm going to kind of talk our way through how to do this. The first thing is you want to consider your budget. If you are on a very tight week-to-week budget, you might not be able to do a big deep dive, but you might be able to buy 1 or 2 items and keep those stocked up so that you have a little bit of a cushion and it makes grocery shopping a little bit easier. If you are able to float your budget a little bit and do a bigger deep dive grocery shopping trip, then your spending will be less in the weeks that follow because you're not having to buy a lot of the staples. So it really does help with your budget. A few weeks ago, I talked about getting your fall game plan ready, and that included cleaning out your pantry and your freezer. When you've done that, then you look at your master meal planning sheet and you look at the kinds of meals that you like to make in the fall. And you start thinking about the ingredients that you need to make those meals. In my house, there tends to be kind of a theme. In the fall, I'm using a lot more canned tomatoes and chicken broth, a little bit more pasta. We're making more casseroles and soups and stews, and the basic ingredients and building blocks of those are something that I like to purchase in the fall. So if you haven't listened to the episode on the fall game plan, go back and listen to that episode. I'll link it in the show notes, but take stock of what is in your freezer, what is in your pantry. In the next couple of weeks, make sure that you're eating up your quote unquote summer foods so you're not stuck with things that need to be grilled and it's snowy in December and you're trying to eat fajitas on the grill in the middle of December. Eat up those foods that are summer foods so that you have room for your fall and winter foods. When we do this big deep dive shopping trip, it's usually for me is going to take 2 to 3 stores to make it happen. If you have stores that have low or no cost grocery pickup, you may want to do this with them, but this might be one of those times where you really just need to physically get in the store Make sure that you're not missing things as you walk down the aisles. It's going to save you a little bit of time to do some of these things yourself. Sometimes grocery pickup is great, but then you get some weird substitutions here and there, and it's a little bit frustrating. There's times where you just need to get in the store and do it yourself. And I kind of feel like with this type of a deep dive grocery trip, it's something that I just need to physically push that cart around and really be on the ground, focusing on the staples that I need. I start with my non-perishable staples, and I'm thinking about things that are not food here, because let's be honest, grocery shopping is more than just groceries, right? You've got your grocery shopping, and then you have your things like toilet paper and paper towels and shampoo and deodorant and all of those things. In my holiday planning guide, I actually have a printable that goes through all of these staples designed for a deep dive grocery trip. And that holiday planning guide is going to be coming out in October. So look for that because it's a really useful tool. This holiday planning guide has so much more than just food. It's planning for celebrations and gift giving and donations and Christmas cards and wrapping and all sorts of stuff. But I'll talk about the holiday planning guide a little bit later. It's coming out in October. But there are some printables here that I'm going to kind of talk to you about because they're really useful when you're planning a big, deep shopping trip. You want to think about your paper products, paper towels, toilet paper, napkins, paper plates, anything that fits into the paper category. You want to think about cleaning products like dish soap and dishwasher detergent, laundry soap and fabric softener. I actually use white vinegar for my fabric softener. It's less expensive and works really, really well. Stain remover and bathroom cleaner, bleach and hand soap, all of those cleaning products. You want to think about what kind of personal and health things that you need, like toothpaste and deodorant for everyone in your family. And if you're like me, there's like 5 brands that I buy because everyone in the family has their favorite kind. So I stock up on those. Makeup and feminine products, shampoo and conditioner, soap and body wash, all of those things. Get stocked up on those for the next couple of months. Any over-the-counter medicines and vitamins and all of those non-food items that you usually are buying when you're out shopping. Make a big list of all of those and write that all down on a piece of paper. Type it in your notes app. Type it on your computer. I'm a pen and paper girl. There's something about writing it down. Even when I get ready for these podcasts, I write everything down on a notepad and it just helps me organize my thoughts. So I'm a big fan of pen and paper, but if you're an electronic person, just type it in your app or whatever you want. But those are the non-food basics. Then we're going to start moving to the food. And you're going to think about what kinds of things you keep in your pantry. In the fall, I've got to make sure that I have oats and rice and beans and cereal for my family. What kind of pastas do I want? I have different pasta shapes that I like. I want to make sure that I have vinegars and oils. I just today stocked up on my white wine vinegar and my balsamic vinegar. Any condiments, think like pickles and mayo and mustard and ketchup and all of those things. Salad dressings if you're buying bottled salad dressings, or ingredients to make salad dressings if you're making them yourself. You want to think about things like canned goods. And in the fall, I use a lot of tomatoes. I use a lot of pumpkin. And a word about pumpkin, there's been some buzz in the food community that there's been a little bit of a pumpkin shortage. So if you happen to stumble on pumpkin and you use a lot of pumpkin, you might just buy a couple extra cans. I haven't noticed a shortage in my area, but I know across the country, others have had some issues getting pumpkin. So, just remember that. Get a little pumpkin. Pumpkin is the new toilet paper. Is that going to be my new quote? Look at what kind of drinks you want for the fall. Do you need to buy some coffee or some K-cups? My girls love sparkling water. Do you need to buy some sparkling water or teas? What kind of drinks do you need? What kind of things do you need as far as your spices? Take stock of your spices. Take a look at them. Open them all up. If they don't smell fragrant, throw them away. That's something, now's the time to kind of clean those out and kind of restock up on your spices. And then look at your freezer. For me, I'm buying lots of frozen fruit, lots of frozen vegetables, especially mixed vegetables, because I put those in my tater tot casserole and in my pot pie and in all sorts of soups and stews. So what do you need for your freezer? If you are like me and you stock up a little bit on meats, like I make my homemade turkey sausage, I'm going to make sure that I have the frozen turkey to make the turkey sausage. So if there's any meats that you can stock up on, you want to look at those, but stock up on those. But get your list of things that you need to make the meals that are on your master meal planning sheet for the fall. So you've done this big, huge brain dump of all of these items that you need. And then you want to group the items according to the store that you're going to purchase them at. And like the paper goods and that type of thing, I usually buy at a place like Sam's or Costco. The personal care products I'm getting at a large store like Walmart or Target. And then most of the groceries I'm honestly getting at Aldi, because that's where I like to do the bulk of my grocery shopping. But kind of group them by stores and the stores that you want to go to on this big shopping trip. List them out, and then you're going to plan this big shopping trip. I highly recommend doing this shopping trip on a weekday morning without children. Now, if you have little ones at home, maybe you can swap babysitting with a friend, or maybe you can hire a babysitter. Or if you are working during the day, maybe you can take a morning of flex time to do this big, deep grocery shopping trip. If you can't do it on a weekday morning, the next best time to do it is a Sunday morning, because most of the stores are not as busy on a Sunday morning. I highly recommend not doing this trip on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday, because that's when the stores are busiest. And when you have a giant cart full of staples, people will give you nasty looks. Trust me, I have been there. And it's just busier, and it's harder to think and go through your list when the stores are busier. When the stores are quieter and emptier, you can just whiz through there and get your things 1, 2, 3. You have your list already made out. So you're going to be faster than you think when you do this big deep dive shopping trip, but it's going to take a lot of energy. It's going to be a bit of an exhausting day. And you know, when I talk about planning meals, that you plan around your energy just as much as your activities. Think about what you're going to have for dinner that night and plan something simple and easy for you, because you're going to spend a lot of energy on this one-day shopping trip. But the energy you spend up front is going to pay off on the back end, because you're going to have a lot more brain space knowing that your house is well stocked with these staples, and your grocery trips are going to be smaller when you have the staples already in your house. When you plan this big shopping trip, I learned this trick from Lisa Woodruff, and I live in Wichita, Kansas, so everything is 10 minutes from my house, so it's not as important to me. But if you are in a bigger city or in a rural area and you're having to travel to a larger city, this is really important. Start with the store that is farthest away from your house and work your way in closer to your house. That way, if something happens and you don't get to the last store before your allotted time is up, the store that's last is the one that's closest to you. If you are buying a lot of things for your freezer and your furthest store away from you is Costco, where you do most of your freezer shopping, put a cooler in your car and throw those frozen things in a cooler. I know that sounds silly, but if you're spending all morning out shopping and you're having to drive back and forth to your house to unload perishable items, you're going to waste time and efficiency, and it's worth just the little step of putting a cooler in your car or in your trunk to put those frozen and perishable items. It will make you so much more efficient, and it will make the shopping trip so much easier. Now, I'm in Wichita, and I can whiz through these things. If I'm worried about anything melting, I actually do have an insulated bag that I will put things in. But oftentimes they're okay sitting in my car, the frozen things, for an hour, depending upon what is frozen. While we're talking about frozen things, when you are stocking up, think about things that you are buying fresh, but that freeze really well. Bread freezes really well. bagged shredded cheese freezes really, really well. You can also freeze other hard cheeses. Soft cheeses like cream cheese and goat cheese don't freeze the best, but they often have a decent shelf life on them. You can even freeze milk. Now, I don't recommend doing that for this big trip, but if you are someone that doesn't get to the grocery store very often, you can freeze milk. But think about things that you buy fresh that you can freeze so that you don't have to be buying those. Then you've started with your furthest away. You've bought all your items. You've moved it closer and closer. You've made it all the way home. Make sure you take the time to get everything out of your car, get everything put in its place so that you know where it is. You have a really good idea of the amounts, and then have a system for when you are down to one or two of your items so that you don't assume that you're always going to have tomatoes and someone in your family used up the last can of tomatoes and you're like, I'm trying to make chili and I don't have any tomatoes. In my house, that system is my children know that if they open up the last of an item, they write that item on the calendar and then I know that I have to purchase it. For you, you might just put a little thing on your refrigerator, a list, or you might have something in your app. It doesn't matter how, but have a system so if your family members use up the last of an item, you know that they have used the last of that item. What happens when you do this big grocery shopping trip is then your next shopping trips, all you're buying is fresh fruits and vegetables. I'm not even buying bread most of the time because I'll keep bread in the freezer, and I'm not buying cheese because I have cheese in the freezer. So your grocery bill goes way, way down and you're only buying fresh. You can shop the sales of what's on sale that week to kind of add your fresh vegetables and your fresh fruits. And it makes grocery shopping so much easier because you're not having to think about all of the basic things like toothpaste and canned goods because you already have a pantry that is stocked and full, ready for the next couple of months. I will do this big grocery shopping trip in September, and I won't do another deep dive grocery shopping trip until the beginning of December, probably after Thanksgiving. And that's when I'll stock up for everything that I need from December through January into February. Getting in the habit of doing a big deep dive shopping trip every couple of months will save you time and it will save you so much brain space. And it also helps with meal planning because you can base your meals around the ingredients that you have in your home. And that is something that I haven't really talked about too much. I'm going to have to dig in deeper on another podcast about how having kind of a set of basic ingredients that dictate how you meal plan can really help you focus in. But for now, let me just leave it with this, is when you have the basic ingredients of your pantry, you are able to make lots of different meals by mixing and matching the ingredients. I think of a frozen bag of mixed vegetables. I can make soup. I can make a chicken pot pie. I can make tater tot casserole. I can throw it into chicken fried rice. That same bag of frozen vegetables makes 4 different meals. If I buy a can of tomatoes, I can make tomato soup. I can make spaghetti. I can make lasagna. I can make chili. I can make a tikka masala. All of those things are made with the same can of tomatoes. So start thinking about those basic ingredients that can be total workhorses in your kitchen. Add them to that deep dive shopping trip, and then all you have to do is fill in with fresh fruits and vegetables and maybe meats and see how this system works for you. I would love to hear how it happens. And if you go out and take a big deep dive shopping trip, will you take a picture of yourself or of your grocery haul and post it in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group? I would love to hear how this technique works for you. Next week, 100th episode, I have planned a giveaway of some of my favorite kitchen gadgets, and we will talk about how you can enter that giveaway next week. I cannot wait to celebrate with you. 100 episodes is a big deal, and I can't wait to kind of reflect back on some of the evolution of Feed Your Family Tonight. Of course, I would not be here without you, and I'm always so thankful that you take a few minutes every week to spend with me. So for now, friends, we'll catch you next week. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Feed Your Family Tonight podcast with your host, Mariefiebach. If you like the show and want to know more, please visit feedyourfamilytonight.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, please leave a rating or review on iTunes or Apple Podcast. It helps spread the word that you can feed your family tonight.